It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. Today we're going to be having a look at the Switchcracker. Now, we've talked about this on our podcast months and months ago as it was being developed, and as part of mentioning it out there to the community and talking about it, Jesse, who is the actual creator and designer of this Switchcracker, reached out to me as part of our Slack community that we have for the board podcast channel community, as it were, and said, would you be interested in having a look at one of these units? And of course I said, yes, why not? Looks really interesting, would be a fantastic tool. Now, the only sort of comparison that I have tooling wise for opening switches are your standard sort of these metal forked things that I got from Mechanical Keyboards a long time ago. And while these work, I did have difficulties using these to open switches when I tried to do switch lubing a long time ago. The forks do sit in, but you have to get them at the right angle. You've got to apply pressure really evenly. You can't really, rush it and try and speed through stuff because they just pop out of the switches really easily. And then of course, once you start lubing stuff, if you've got a little bit of lube on your hands, on your gloves or whatever, then these start to get a little bit slippery and whatnot. Especially with my own created sort of switch modding station, they were becoming a bit of a challenge to use. So when I saw the design for this Switchcracker, I thought that was really cool because it was something that you could have mounted that you could pop switches in, push down on it, would pop the switch open, you can get your bits out. There are other designs for switch opening tools that are a little bit more compact. Somebody's made and designed and printed one that you can get in metal, that you essentially put the switch in and you have a top half, bottom half, you push it together and it pops it open. So there's lots of options out there, and this is just simply one of them that is now available through Jesse's website, which I believe is called DIYKeyboards. So please, of course, I will have a link below. Go and check it out just to say thank you, and of course all the support for sending me this package to check out. Now, I do apologize in that I got this a couple of weeks ago. I just haven't had the time to be able to open it. As you can see, it's still sealed. I've just taken some labeling off it, just with life in general. Now, what I do have here on the table with me is I've got a cherry blue, I've got a Gateron blue, I've got an Outemu blue, and then I've got a box navy, a Kailh box navy. I do have a pale blue, but it's actually in my switch tester, and I couldn't have been bothered digging that out and actually popping that switch out, so I'm just going to go with the navy because I've got that spare. What I've got here is just a block of wood, so I can stick it down with some blue tack because I didn't want to actually drill holes to hold it, because from what I can tell, the design is meant to be table or benchtop surface mounted as well, because it's got holes in it. The only thing that I'm going to say first and foremost front up is that the clips that are in here are version 1 clips. Jesse wrote to me and said, since shipping this to me, he's actually redesigned some of the clips a little bit, so the version 2s are what are actually being sent out and shipped to customers who actually buy the Switchcracker now. He did offer a way of me getting the V2s, but I just haven't sort of gone around to making that happen, and I don't feel that it should really affect it, because if it's going to be an improvement, if it works well as the V1, then the V2 should be, of course, even better. So please be aware that if you are checking out this review and you've got some niggling doubts about why it either looks differently, behaves differently, or whatnot, it's because you probably have the version 2 or higher clips that fit inside the actual Switchcracker itself. So let's open this up and have a look. I did find it really amusing that he had a video which showed him being able to speed open switches, a very large number of them in a very short time, and I think for some people that is definitely going to be of interest, because of course using tools and whatnot, it can be quite a lengthy process. Right, so it's nicely packaged, just some bubble wrap in there. Probably should just check that there's nothing in here I shouldn't be showing off. Nope, okay, not so far anyway. That can go aside. We've got some packaging and a slip. Oh, that's pretty cool. There we go. So we've been provided 2 sets and 2 nifty little cards. which are exactly the same. So it's got a QR code down here, which is fantastic. Of course, if you want to on the video, if that's going to give you the focal quality, you can maybe snap that with your phone and check it out yourself. Switch not included. Choose your style of prongs, which is the clip. So we've got box and MX. They go into the Switchcracker. There's rubber feet optional. Insert the switch with the tabs aligned to the prongs. Press firmly until the switch is fully seated. Release and pull the top half, remove the bottom half. So, seems pretty simple. Let's see how it goes. Now, it's been very generous and it's actually provided two. You can see there. And there's two sets of clips, and even with the bumpons, which is really great. So what I can do is I can actually fit one with the MX clips, and I can fit one with the box clips. So let's go with red for the MX style. Actually, let's just put that aside as well. Now we need to identify which ones are which. Okay, so MX are straight clips and box clips are angled clips. So what I'm talking about there is I have MX here on my right hand side and box on my left hand side, and you'll see the side profile for these are different. Now it's, if the camera will focus, there we go, and there. So the actual box ones go into the middle because that's where the clips are being held on the actual switch, whereas the MX ones are straight. And I'll kind of demonstrate what I'm, well, not demonstrate yet, but I'll show you in that if you're not very familiar with switches yet, because you're kind of just getting into it, the actual tabs for the MX switches are on the edges, whereas the center is not where the tabs clip into, but the box ones actually don't sit as far to the edge, and it's a big fat sort of piece. So that's how it goes. Now, is this going to be a foolproof method of slotting them in so they don't fit in one particular orientation? So that's excellent foolproofing design. So that's just, it's a snug fit. I like that. It's a nice snug fit. It doesn't look like there is any sort of backwards, frontwards issues. Obviously, you're not going to put it in so that the prongs are facing down, because then, you know, that's just not going to work. But they are uniform on both sides, so I can't imagine it's going to be an issue for whichever way you insert these. Now, I can feel the rubbing of the plastic on plastic because it is 3D printed, so you can see the actual, well, I can see it. Maybe the camera might be able to show it. Well, there's ridge lines on this. It's 3D printed, so you can kind of expect that there is going to be some friction that is happening. And now that is with the MX clips inside. Now, it's not perfectly straight, but I think it's probably going to be okay. And I'm just going to pop that on that. It's nice and flat and smooth. I'm not going to put the bumpons, only because, well, I'm just going to use some blue tack here, I think. Ish. And I can tack it down. Just some on two sides should be enough. Voila, there we go. And let's start with the cherry. So I want to line up the actual clips to the prongs. Okay. Maybe. Alrighty. They kind of fit in that way. There we go. Okay, so it is seated. You do have to maybe fiddle around with it a little bit and push down on the top and separate. Wow. It works. I mean, not that I doubted that it wouldn't work, but that was actually pretty effortless. By the time that I'd actually mounted the clips in, it was already kind of propped open, which is really cool. So now if I just grab it carefully and wiggle, a whole lot comes out and the clips have stayed in. Now, of course, I can hold that upside down and give that a shake, and the clip's not going to come out, which is really, really cool, which is really fantastic. So, cherry switch opens pretty easily. Let's just pop that back on. Done and dusted. All right, let's go on to the Gaterons. So let's line up the feet again. Got to get it in correctly and push. Oh, okay, so it got half of it. So that's on. So if I just hold it up, if the camera will focus, you can see it's already lifted, the left-hand side. The right-hand side's lifted. We flip it around and both sides are lifted. I think it's just because the 3D printed the top of the actual clip, it's a little bit bumpy, it's a bit ridgy, just the way that 3D printed objects are. And after a couple of uses, it'll smooth out and it'll be a little bit sharper and easier to get in under the actual tab. But now that it's open, if I carefully lift, and there we have it. The top comes off and all my bits and pieces are now just hanging freely. So if I put that back on top of it and lift, snap it back together, switch is good. Okay, so Gaterons are good. And then, so the Outemu switches actually work like the box switches, which is actually really good for this because we can check that with the box style, in that the tabs are actually more centered in the middle than two individual tabs on the side. So let's just put that aside. Let's just take that off. We'll leave those two. You know what? I'm not going to bother opening with the white one because I'm sure it's going to work exactly the same, but rather than opening that, I'm just going to see how we go with pulling these things out. Alright, so I should just be able to put my fingers down the back here and, yep, just pushed them out. Easy peasy. Now if I have a look at this, yeah, so it's exactly what I thought, in that because they're 3D printed, the tops of these, they're not very smooth yet. It's got a bit of like a flat top, which is kind of making it a little bit difficult to get in under the actual tab to start with. Now, of course, if you made that sharper when you 3D print it, there's a good chance it's just going to break off anyway. So I don't know what the version 2 of these clips look like yet, but if it's an improvement on that, then that would be fantastic. Okay, so let's put those aside. And now we've got to make sure that these fit the right way. Of course, that shouldn't be a problem because there's only one way for these to go. Let's get that in. It's a little bit finickier, only because you've got to make sure that it doesn't go funny when it goes in. And actually, I only just noticed it now. I don't know if the camera's going to show it very well. You can see there's actually a channel that's angled to support that box piece, which is really cool. So it's not just relying on a straight slot. It fully supports this wider beam, that sort of wider section of this clip. Very good design. I think it's a superb design. Look at that. So I put it in and the two halves actually occlude. So they touch each other. Whoop, right into the middle, as it were. So this should work an absolute treat. Shouldn't have taken that blue tack off, huh? It'll probably work without the blue tack, but you know, just for even's sake, pop it on. All right, so let's start with the Outemu. Make sure we've got the correct sides on it. Let's just sit it on top, and well, made a bit of a crunchy sound. I didn't like it. Is it popped? No, so you can see it's sort of sitting a bit funny there. Okay, so it's definitely struggling with the Outemu. Outemu, no go. Let's try the box switches. Okay, box switch is sitting on top of that side, sitting on top of that side, and hey, what do you know? Look at that. Straight off. So, What does that tell me? The Outemu plastic housing, the top housing, is a lot stiffer, and I think the angle that they must have at the bottom of their clips is going to be different to the Kailh housing. There's not much in it by visual inspection, but the Kailh housing actually does appear to have like an angle on it. So there we go. So that's pretty cool. Now if I, of course, just gently nudge that out, there it is. Let's put my box navy back together. Spring on. Stem correct side so that it'll actually set off the clip bar, which would be good. And then the top goes back on. It needs to go that way. Come on. Wait, stop rotating. Right, yo. Snap. Excellent. Interesting. What I'm going to do, let's just have a look at it again. See if it'll do some magic second time. I'm giving it quite a good squeeze here. No, it doesn't want to go. I did not apply anywhere as much force as that on the box switch. But what I'm going to do is going to go back to these MX clips and see if they will actually open the Outemus or not. Slip them in. So even if you only have one set of this Switchcracker, you can see how quick and easy it is for me to actually switch out these clips. Just flip it upside down, push it out with the finger, and in goes the new clips, and it's ready to go. Now, of course, if you do screw them into an actual surface, that'll make it a little bit harder to pop them out, but I suppose you could probably make like a little hook tool that can just go down the middle, turn and pull, and it would actually pop out both of them. So as a suggestion for you, Jesse, maybe have like a supporting tool that will fit in between the two halves that you can just turn and pull the clips out for those people who decide to mount it into a surface. Now, Mr. Outemu, we meet again. In we go. Which way are you doing? Yeah, that's the right way. What are you doing? All right. It doesn't want to even fit between the clips. That's really fascinating. The actual, oh, there we go. Maybe. Is that going to fit? No. The width of the base does not even fit inside these clips. Now, what is this telling me? Not very much, because these are version 1s. Will version 2 fix this? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't have a changelog of what has 100% changed. I do have his email, and let's just have a look. The MX clip design has been updated since yours were sent. The change is minor, but the clips are definitely an improvement and what has been included in all of the units I've shipped. So, if you've got a Outemu and you've tried the new clips, please comment below and let me know if the version 2 clips actually will open these Outemus, because the MX ones do not support it at all, and we've also seen that the box style clip doesn't seem to have enough angle to get under the actual clipness of these Outemus. Maybe he needs to develop a third insert for Outemu switches. Maybe. But you know what? Since I've put these back in, let's just have a crack at opening these again. Switch cracking, of course. Cherry switch. Look at that. It's in. Right? It's sort of just barely sitting in there. Wait. Come on. Alright. So if I just sit it right. Oh, just got to get the right angle again. What have I done? Now these aren't seeming to. Have I got it? Yeah, okay. No, I've got it in there, and then I can push down on it. You can see the actual top is separated. So yeah, no force at all, really. And that top is just come apart. So let's just pop out. Ooh. The whole switch is, of course, going out. There we go. Two halves. Meet them back together. And then, of course, the Gateron again. So let's have a look. We'll seat it on top of the... come on, camera. You can do better than that. Can't even see what I'm doing. Well, it does fit in quite neatly. There we go. And then all I have to do is push in and down. And the top, well, it's definitely separated. Just have to give it a little bit of a nudge. And you can see there is separation there. There's daylight happening in between. And the top comes off. Okay. Definitely very cool. If Jesse says that the new version the inserts work better, then I'm going to say they probably work better. Very, very cool indeed. Now, of course, you can always just get a small block of wood or something like that you can screw them into so it doesn't take up a whole bench. Or if you have like a switch modding station, like maybe one of those acrylic plate things where you actually put pieces in so you can, you know, do spring swaps and lubing and all that kind of stuff in bulk. If there's a space that allows you to actually tap some holes into it, then you could drill it in and bolt it down, or even just use something like double-sided tape or hot glue, epoxy it, and just put it there so you can just open up switches, pull it out, put it into the sockets, whatever it is that you want to do. Which is pretty cool. Woo! Alright, once again, thank you so much to DIYKeyboards and Jesse for sending me this Switchcracker and a spare. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with it. Maybe I'll run a giveaway for it at some point in time, since I think one of them will probably suffice me. I don't do a lot of switch modding at the moment. Maybe I will in the future. We'll just have to see. And it looks like it works. So big tick of approval from me. And of course, if you're interested, you can find them on his website at DIYKeyboards.com. Let me just check. Where's my keyboard gone? DIYKeyboards.com and enter. Now I have a filing cabinet which is over on this side, and I pulled the drawer out and I actually put the keyboard there. So that's how I actually manage to use my my utilization space. Yeah, so the website is DIYKeyboards.com. And they're currently available in a whole bunch of colors at $10.99 US each plus shipping, whatever it is. So the video is 66 MX switches in less than 8 minutes. That's pretty quick. Okie dokie, that's it. Thanks for checking out the video. And of course, don't forget we have our weekly podcast. You can find us at www.theboardpodcast.com. We've also got an Instagram. And yeah, we've also got a Patreon if you'd like to show us a bit of love and your support for all the stuff that we do both on the podcast and here on this YouTube channel. So, until next time, happy clacking.